Ladies and gentlemen, this video is to help you with some rounding. If you feel like you need a refresher on some rounding or you're just not sure in general how to do it, this video is meant to help you with your rounding. So, a little bit of background, there is what is called place value. So each of these numbers is in this place that has a name. So like this would be the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, thousands, and so on. Most of you know that from previous courses. What gets tricky is what happens after the decimal point, because the first one here is the tenths. There is no oneths place, which confuses some people. So the tenths place is one decimal or one number after the decimal. The hundredths place is two numbers after the decimal. And the thousandths place is three numbers after the decimal. And then 10 thousandths would then be four numbers after the decimal point. So let's say I had these three numbers and I was asked to find or to round these numbers to the nearest tenth. So to do that, to look or to round to the nearest tenth, I need to look at the second number. So for this value right here, if I want to round 3.18796 to the nearest tenth, I need to look at the second decimal place. Okay, I need to look right there. Now, if this value is anything that's 5 or higher, we round up. All right, and if it is 4 or lower, it stays the same. So 8 is 5 or higher, so it is going to round this 1 up to a 2. So 3.18796 rounded to the nearest tenth is 3.2. So really the only number I had to look at here was this 8. I could pretty much ignore the rest of them. So likewise here, if I want to round this to the nearest tenth, I need to look at the second number, which is the 1. Now 1 is 4 or lower, so this 3 here is going to stay the same. This last one, again, I look at the second number if I'm rounding to the tenth or rounding to the tenth place. This is a 9. A 9 is 5 or higher, so it's going to round this 2 up to a 3. So those are some examples on how I would round a number to the nearest tenth. You should have picked up a worksheet that looks like this from your teacher to have you kind of work through this with this video. So at this point, I want you to pause the video, and I would like for you to round these numbers in number 1 to the nearest tenth place. So now that you have paused the video and worked through A, B, C, D, E, and F, you should have the following answers. So take a moment and check your work. If you made mistakes and are unsure about any of the mistakes that you made, please feel free to rewind the video and look at the examples on how to round to the nearest tenth. Or please feel free to ask Ms. Fike, Ms. Sudame, or Ms. Ryan for some help. We're now going to look at rounding something to the nearest hundredth place. So the hundredths place is this second number after the decimal point. So in order to round to 2 decimal places, or the hundredths place, I'm going to have to look at the third number after the decimal. So just like I look at the second number to round to the tenths, I'm going to look at the third number to round to the hundredths. So for this first example, the third number is the 7. And just like rounding to the tenths place, if it's 5 or higher, I round up. And if it's lower than 4, I keep it the same. Okay, so again, here's 7. It's going to be 5 or higher, so it's going to round this 8 up. So I have 3.19. This next one, 8.312, the third number is the 2. 2 is smaller than 4, so it's going to keep my value at 8.31. Lastly, if I look at the third value here, it is 7. 7 is larger than 5, so it's going to round this 9 up. Now this is a little unique here because I have 0.29, but if I round this 9 to a 0, this is really going to change to 12.30. So that's kind of a unique case when I would have to round this 29 to a 30. So at this point, get your worksheet out and do number 2. So work on these 6 problems here on number 2 where it asks you to round these values to the nearest hundredth. Pause the video, and when you are finished, we will look at the answer key. Now that you've had a chance to do number 2, you should take a minute and check your answers. For number 2, we're rounding to the nearest hundredth place. That letter F down at the bottom is going to be a 4.50. That's going to be similar to that last example that we did together on the last slide before you started working on this page. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask Ms. Ryan, Ms. Sudame, or Ms. Fike on rounding to the nearest hundredth place. The last place value we're going to look at to rounding together is going to be the thousandths place. So the thousandths place is 3 numbers after the decimal point. And to round to the thousandths place, we are going to have to look at that 4th value in order to do that. So here we go. I've got 3.18796. I need to look at the 4th value. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That is this 9. And just like the rounding on every other page, if it's 5 or higher, we round up. And if it's lower than 4, we're going to keep the value the same. So the 9 is going to make this 7 round up, so I'd have 3.188. Next one, the 4th value, 1, 2, 3, 4, is this 7. The 7 will round this 2 up to a 3, so it'll be 8.31. Oh my gosh, I just made a mistake. Just kidding. I hope you caught my mistake too. So this should be, the 4th number is the 2, which is lower than 4. So that keeps this number the same at 8.319. Last one, the 4th number, 1, 2, 3, 4, is this 5. A 5 is 5 or higher, so it's going to round this 7 to an 8. At this point, you should pause the video and work on the number 3 on your worksheet. And after you have finished working through these problems, you can unpause the video and we will look at the answer key. Now that you have finished with question number 3, check your answers. Again, if you still need help working on rounding these values, please ask Ms. Fike, Ms. Ryan, or Ms. Sudame for help. Or feel free to watch this video again or ask for some more practice problems.